Alright guys, what's up? Back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about this NJ68-CP. It's a HE magnetic keyboard from Keydous. So let's just start with what's in the box. Keycap and switch puller. You get this Type-C cable, 2.4 gigahertz dongle for wireless mode, and then this adapter, which I don't know why you need for a keyboard, but whatever. So in terms of specs, let's get into them. So obviously this supports rapid trigger. This has a brass plate, which is pretty interesting. We'll get into more of that later. Tri-mode, so not just wireless, wired, then Bluetooth. 100K hertz polling on wired and wireless, and it will probably be about 125 hertz or so on Bluetooth. 3100 milliamp hour battery, which is nothing crazy, but it should be okay. But I'll get into why I don't think you should use wireless later. Then this supports full RGB. I'm just personally using white because I don't like RGB, but I need to be able to see the legends on the keycaps. Then it is about 1.3 pounds. But let's just get into the case real quick. So now you can see the keycaps with the RGB off. It's kind of this gradient color. It's hard to really tell on the camera that it's gradient with this lighting. But here is the transparent case. As you can see, there's one stage flippy feet, not two stage. There is the power on and off button. Then you can just see the case. So let's also talk about the mold of this case. I'm going to try to, you can't really see it right here, but the plastic molding ends right here. So generally this wouldn't bother me, but it is a bit annoying it being right in middle of the case, like if it was on the side. And I also noticed there were some scratches. You're not going to be able to see really well around the case. So it could be that it got scratched when I tried to open it, but that's because you can see right here there's clips to open it. So I'm not, and I couldn't get this case open. I got the middle two clips, but not the ones on the side. So it's possible when I opened it, the clips scratched around the case, or those scratches were just there before. I'm not entirely sure, so I just want to let you know that this case is cool, but it's not the highest quality case. Let me just show you something else about the case. So yeah, so you'll be able to see the RGB on the side when you have it plugged in. So I just wanted to give you a view of that. And then let's go into some issues with this keyboard. So first of all, the stabilizers that come with the keyboard are very, very heavy. So I switched out these three stabilizers. I didn't bother with the spacebar because it wasn't really bothering me, but I had to like push down on my pinky really hard while using the shift while gaming, which is not something you want to use while gaming. Most rapid trigger boards feel very light, especially on the shift. So when I'm gaming, I don't even have to think about it, but this I had to push down especially hard with the stock stabilizer, and even with the stabilizer I switched to, it was still pretty hard because the switches are also feel pretty heavy. Another issue I noticed is the rapid trigger would always turn off every time you disconnect the keyboard, turn it off, reset your PC if you were using any type of custom setting. So unless you're just using one of their special settings, the rapid trigger, you're going to have to redo it every single time, which is ridiculous. So to switch from wire to wireless mode, you're also going to have to like restart your PC, which is also kind of annoying. Let's say you need a charge, you have to restart your PC. That's just my experience with it, except the first time I plugged in. Then in terms of wireless, so this board has wireless. I don't think wireless is worth it on a Hall Effect keyboard. I think they could have used the money that they used for a battery and then the 2.4 gigahertz dongle and just all the tech for that to put it in better keycaps or better switches. I just think it's kind of a waste on a keyboard where you're trying to get the most performance possible. You should be using it wired, but like I guess that's up to you. Maybe you want wireless if you're going to take it to travel. But yeah, so let's talk about these keycaps. So in my opinion, these keycaps are probably one of the worst keycaps I've ever used. Like I don't like shine through, and I'm not going to be biased that they're bad because of shine through, but I think they're just these cheap keycaps material. I guess they're not even PBT. I don't even know what material this is. So I just think they're bad. They could have used better ones. So let's just show you the switches as well since I took the keycap out. So right here you can see this isn't a Otemu switch. It feels pretty heavy, as you can see while I'm pushing it down, which I feel like rapid trigger switches should be on the lighter side because you could just adjust the actuation. So really it should be somewhere in the middle. But these felt pretty heavy. They sound pretty decent. I would say they're probably one of the better sounding Hall effect switches, but because of the keycaps, they end up being wasted. I did try better keycaps on this board, and the sound was just a tad better. Um, so in terms of stock sound, I think it's pretty terrible. I'll send the sound test. On my sound test, it might sound a little bit better, but in person, it just doesn't sound very good. So in terms of my thoughts of, I said before, the brass plates I find very cool. I would love to see them on more mechanical keyboards, but on a Hall effect keyboard that doesn't have bad keycaps and doesn't sound the best, I just don't see how it makes sense to have a brass plate. You're just driving up the price more, where you could have had this board cheaper and a better price range and use an aluminum plate, or put in money for better keycaps and switches. Maybe if you're going to go wireless anyway, a better battery or a better wireless mode, better PCB. The brass plate just pronounces the worst sounding even more. Like this keyboard could have sounded better probably with an aluminum plate. So I just don't think the brass plate was worth it either. The sound just isn't great. But the price of this board is $99, which I think is very high, especially the brass plate is probably putting it up $15 or something. In general, I wouldn't recommend a sub $100 Hall effect keyboard except the Polars. I did recommend this Gamakay a few months ago, which is about $75, the TK75 HE. But the reason why I recommended this is because it was pretty high quality, but it has silent switches, and it was the only Hall effect keyboard I knew of at the time it did. Now there might be one or two more, and I would still recommend this board because you get the Hall effect silent switch option, but I wouldn't recommend the mechanical version, and the non-silent version, and I wouldn't recommend this either at $100 because it just doesn't feel good. Just get a mechanical keyboard or get a Polar 65 or save up more, because at $100 you're getting a subpar keyboard that has a lot of issues. So I just can't recommend this. And that's pretty much it. See you in the next one.